Welcome to Triumph IAS. It's a daily mains practice question and answer series. This program is exclusively designed for UPSC CSE aspirants. In this video discussion, we will discuss UPSC CSE mains previous 25-year questions. Question number 1. Discuss the changes in the trends of labor migration within and outside India in the last 4 decades. Let's start with the introduction of the answer. An individual unable to find employment in his current location may decide to relocate to some other region in search of employment. This phenomenon is regarded as labor migration. The main body of the answer should be Number 1. The development gap between the economies and also between the regions within an economy induces an individual to migrate. Number 2. Migration can be internal migration, from one region to another but within the same country, and external migration or emigration, from one country to another country. Number 3. According to the International Labour Organization, ILO, there are over 30 million Indians overseas, with over 9 million of the Indian diaspora concentrated in the GCC region alone. Number 4. Over 90% of Indian migrant workers, most of whom are low and semi-skilled workers, work in the Gulf region and Southeast Asia. Trend of labor migration outside India. Number 1. The rate of migration to the developed Western countries like US, Canada, Europe has increased post-globalization. Number 2. Also, a considerable numbers of Indians are immigrating to these countries on a permanent basis. Number 3. Gulf region attracts a significant proportion of semi-skilled and unskilled labor migrants from India, especially UAE, Saudi Arabia, Kuwait. Number 4. One of the striking trends in migration of unskilled semi-skilled labor is with respect to the Southeast Asian nations. There has been phenomenal increase in labor migration to countries like Malaysia, Indonesia, etc. Trend of labor migration within India. Number 1. Migration from eastern part of country like UP, Bihar, Orissa, West Bengal or north-eastern states to western region like Maharashtra, Gujarat, Punjab or Haryana etc. is almost a regular phenomenon from last 4 decades. Number 2. After Green Revolution, regions across Punjab and Haryana have become favorite destinations for agricultural laborers from Bihar, Jharkhand and eastern UP. Number 3. Industrial regions like Delhi, Noida and Mumbai attracts industrial laborers from across the country. Number 4. The textile belt of Haryana, Punjab, Himachal also attracts a large number of laborers from the eastern part. Conclusion of the answer is: implementation of schemes like MGNREGA has decelerated the migration of male laborers from certain regions. Last few decades has witnessed a tremendous increase in the migration of female laborers in almost every region. Question number 2. The need for cooperation among various service sectors has been an inherent component of development discourse. Partnership bridges bring the gap among the sectors. It also sets in motion a culture of collaboration and team spirit. In the light of statements above, examine India's development process. Let's start with the introduction of the answer. Services currently dominate our economies and are likely to become even more important in the future. Simply defined, services are a diverse group of economic activities not directly associated with the manufacture of goods, mining or agriculture. They typically involve the provision of human value added in the form of labor, advice, managerial skill, entertainment, training, intermediation, and the like. The main body of the answer should be Number 1. The Ministry of Commerce and Industry is creating an action-oriented plan which will highlight specific sector-level interventions to bolster India's march towards becoming a $5 trillion economy before 2025. The focused plans will be on boosting services sector contribution to $3 trillion, manufacturing to $1 trillion, and agriculture to $1 trillion. Number 2. The Union Cabinet chaired by the Prime Minister approved the proposal of the Department of Commerce to give focused attention to 12 identified champion services sectors for promoting their development and realizing their potential. Number 3. These include information technology and information technology-enabled services, IT and ITS, tourism and hospitality services, medical value travel, transport and logistics services, accounting and finance services, audiovisual services, legal services, communication services, construction and related engineering services, environmental services, financial services and education services. Number 4. Services sector in India has immense employment potential. It will enhance the competitiveness of India's service sectors through the implementation of focused and monitored action plans, thereby creating more jobs in India, contributing to a higher GDP and exports of services to global markets. Number 5. As the services sector contributes significantly to India's GDP, exports and job creation, increased productivity and competitiveness of the champion services sectors will further boost exports of various services from India. Conclusion of the answer is: embedded services are substantial part of goods as well. Thus, competitive services sector will add to the competitiveness of the manufacturing sector as well. Question number 3. Women empowerment in India needs gender budgeting. What are the requirements and status of gender budgeting in the Indian context? Let's start with the introduction of the answer. Let's start with the introduction of the answer. Gender budgeting is a practice that accounts budgetary measures to support gender commitments. It is a powerful tool for achieving gender mainstreaming. India formally adopted gender budgeting in 2005 to 2006. The main body of the answer should be: status of gender budgeting in India. Number 1. The gender budgeting started with 2.79% allocation in 2005 and increased to 6.22% in 2011. But since then it started decreasing, presently being 4.5%. Number 2. There have been few favorable outcomes of programs like Janani Suraksha Yojana, Pradhan Mantri Matritva Vandana Yojana, Rashtriya Mahila Kosh, etc. Number 3. Greater gender equality has been witnessed with respect to enrollment in schools. Number 4. Increased spending on women-centric infrastructure, for e.g. provision of subsidized LPG connections. Providing girls with safe toilets in school, especially in villages, giving free cycles for easy commutation, for example in Bihar. Number 5. Increased employment opportunities for women. Number 6. So far only 16 states have taken up gender budgeting, and a lot needs to be done in realizing the benefits of gender budgeting. Requirements for gender budgeting in India. Number 1. Standardized nomenclature for the various schemes related to women. Number 2. Social customs and norms that bind women to achieve greater heights should be eradicated. Number 3. Household chores that are not accounted in the economy impact women negatively. Number 4. Statistics on existing women-centric schemes should be analyzed. Number 5. The total budgetary allocation for women-centric schemes has staggered around 5%, which should be increased and strictly audited. Number 6. All states should also take up gender budgeting at earliest. Conclusion of the answer is: the overall patriarchal setup of Indian society, alarming sex ratio in few regions, increasing crimes against women, unfavorable conditions at workplace, and India's abysmal ranking in the Gender Development Index are few among many factors that makes us to conclude that women empowerment in India needs gender budgeting.